1945, former young communist leader Julius Rosenberg abruptly stopped working at the Army Signal Corps Engineering Labs in New Jersey. He had been fired for his political affiliations and implied beliefs. 5 years later, his brother-in-law David Greenglass told the FBI that Julius was the ringleader of a large and productive network of Soviet agents. According to Greenglass, Julius had passed along top-secret information on state-of-the-art missile propulsion systems, fighter jets, and proximity fuses. Within weeks, Julius and his wife Ethel were both in federal custody, indicted for conspiracy to transmit information on national defense to the Soviet Union. In short, they were spies. On June 19, 1953, both were executed by electric chair at Sing Sing Correctional Facility. Julius died with the first shock. Ethel reportedly began to smoke after the 5th attempt to kill her. Their funeral was attended by about 500 people, with an estimated 10,000 standing outside. 42 years later, the United States government declassified the existence of a counterintelligence program initiated during the Second World War to decode Soviet communications. The USSR was an ally of the United States when this program commenced. The Cold War was still years away, but America is perhaps not best known for trusting her friends, especially when those friends are revolutionary new nations who do appear posed to popularize alternative economic practices by force of arms, just like, America definitely does not ever do. So America was also spying on the Soviet Union, for context. In the attending documents were a number of decrypted cables outlining how Julius Rosenberg had passed along the information I mentioned earlier, and had also recruited spies involved in the Manhattan Project, who had then assisted the Soviet Union in developing their own nuclear weapons. I'm not going to argue that any of this was good or helpful. I think everything about this whole situation is horrifying. I don't believe we're any better or worse off with state-of-the-art fighter jets or nuclear weapons in American hands than we were with them in Soviet hands. The very existence of those things makes it difficult to continue repeating the maxim that nothing is good or bad but by its use. I also think the nation-state as a functional political entity is, at best, a thing that has in many ways outlived its usefulness and, at worst, a deeply destructive legal fiction designed expressly to control and exploit the majority of the people living within its geographical confines. And I think that killing people or even imprisoning them for crimes against an abstract entity is, like many other things we've grown used to, authoritarian, barbaric, vindictive, and just kinda generally bad. I just wanted to begin here with a widely known example of espionage before I get really opinionated about a couple of people who have more recently been imprisoned, ostracized, or exiled for handling very sensitive information in ways that could be called inappropriate, illegal, patriotic, treasonous, radical, desperate, or heroic, depending on who you ask.
I might have a few adjectives to include as well.
Oh, hey, Tankenstein. So, where have you been this month?
I do not believe I can say without getting your video demonetized and algorithmically drummed out of existence.
Dude, don't worry about it. First of all, this channel is not currently monetized. Second, I routinely say keywords that get my videos buried and, I hang out with you, man. That alone probably has me on some kind of government list.
I appreciate that. If it is all the same, I would prefer not to say where I am.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's just do the thing. Greetings, fellow heroes. I'm the Silver Samaritan, and boy am I ever not looking forward to this. In 2010, infamous hacker Adrian Lamo informed the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Command that one of their intelligence analysts had breached protocol in a significant way. You know Adrian, right? He's the guy who, I think, invented, or at least popularized red teaming, which is the practice of hacking security systems to get hired as a security expert by the company you just hacked. Theoretically sound, but because of this, Adrian was convicted of several felonies, so companies were, reluctant to hire him. Pioneering sometimes has its drawbacks, you know? Anyway, Adrian had been in contact with an Army analyst who had confided in him that she was releasing classified information to a new and relatively obscure hacker organization called WikiLeaks. And oh God, yes, we will have to talk about him later too, but just let me finish this, okay? This information included secret diplomatic cables, video footage of strikes against civilians, and hundreds of thousands of internal reports. To be clear, this was evidence of war crimes. WikiLeaks reviewed and published the contents, and on Lamo's information, Private First Class Manning was arrested and charged with 22 offenses under the Espionage Act, some of which put her in peril of the death penalty. She was held for 3 years, much of which was spent in solitary confinement and without access to medication, in the Marine Corps Brig at Quantico and the Joint Regional Correctional Facility at Fort Leavenworth. After 3 years under these conditions, she pled guilty to 10 of the charges and was convicted of an additional 7. Her sentence was commuted by outgoing President Barack Obama, and she has been sporadically harassed by federal agents ever since. Back in 2010 and 2011, I remember a lot of noise being made in the media about her state of mind at the time. Her working conditions as an active soldier had included 15-hour shifts in near darkness, and around the time she leaked the documents, she had been trying to access gender affirmation procedures, which was framed incorrectly in the media as indicative of mental imbalance. She had also exhibited clear signs of severe depression. While in prison, she was rushed to hospital after what was characterized as a suicide attempt, faced additional charges related to that attempt without legal representation or access to an appeal, and has stated that she made 2 additional attempts while in prison. Like most people, I have mixed feelings about Chelsea Manning's actions depending on which actions we're talking about. I think she made courageous, conscientiously sound choices with the information she had, despite, things that I will say later about Julian Assange. She's also made a couple of very high-profile moves that I think I probably would not have made. But do I believe anything she's done warrants being imprisoned, denied healthcare, and treated like an international pariah? No. No, I do not. If she broke the law, then the law is wrong. I like Chelsea Manning, but what can you expect? She exposed really inconvenient facts about some of the very numerous American war crimes committed in and about Iraq. What can you do? The law is not about determining what is morally right. I have no idea whether the people who murdered Iraqi civilians in the videos Manning leaked have been charged with anything or treated half as poorly as she has, but then they didn't expose U.S. war crimes. They only committed them. They are part of a bigger systemic problem, and Manning responded to that problem as an individual.
Direct action against systemic injustice will always come at some cost.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I am very sorry, but you are not supposed to like it. You are supposed to accept it and either do nothing or brace for the consequences.
Anyway, what if you've got a situation where a spy turns around and spies on their own entire network of other spies? And I don't mean like, what if Julius Rosenberg had made a deal with the FBI to tell them all about his network? I mean, what if somebody working for an organization that I don't want to say the name of suddenly showed the public how their own government was spying on all of them?
Your attempt at a surprise reveal here is silly.
What surprise reveal?
You are clearly talking about Edward Snowden.
Sure, but maybe there are some kids who haven't heard of him yet or don't know why he lives in Russia now.
Anyone too young to know who Edward Snowden is would be too young to watch your YouTube channel.
Okay, that's fair. And honestly, I don't know why he lives in Russia either. Like, I get it. He's a fugitive from the United States government, and they don't have an extradition treaty with Russia, but like, I'm pretty sure Vladimir Putin invited Snowden to take refuge in Russia, right? That's not a guy who just does nice things without some kind of angle.
It is difficult to determine what is true when so much of our information is based only on public statements by political players. But it seems that Putin was not involved until after the fact and did not want to be involved at all. Snowden had planned to fly from Hong Kong to Moscow, from Moscow to Havana, and from Havana to Ecuador, Nicaragua, Bolivia, or Venezuela. Putin very publicly did not want Snowden to remain in Russia, but Russian news source Kommersant reported that Cuba would not allow Snowden's plane to land if he proceeded. Fidel Castro said this was a lie, and Putin was eager to see Snowden continue his travels. But, afraid for his life and freedom, Snowden applied for and was granted asylum in Russia. After unsuccessfully negotiating asylum applications in 21 countries, Snowden announced in 2020 that he and his wife were applying for dual American-Russian citizenship. Does that answer any of your questions?
Wow. The short answer is yes, but now I have more?
You need to get better at the research part of this job.
Yeah. Anyway, in releasing secret documents to the public, both Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden worked with WikiLeaks, founded in 2006 by Julian Assange to speed up the process of moving information from whistleblowers to the public. It's an understatement to say that Assange is controversial. A U.S. government representative once seriously floated the idea of just drone striking him right off the map, a possible first for a white person wanted by the U.S. And no, it was not Hillary Clinton who said that. Assange and his colleagues exposed war crimes, were instrumental in sparking the Arab Spring between 2010 and 2012, exposed deeply disturbing communications from the U.S. State Department and the Vatican in the so-called Kissinger cables, and called into question the meaning of journalism. Of course, WikiLeaks also released internal Democratic emails in 2015, which showed, among other things, that the party's National Committee favored Hillary Clinton's candidacy over that of Bernie Sanders. His intentions may have been to simply show that a major political party deliberately backed a candidate who was less popular than her challenger for the candidacy. I don't know what motivated him, but his actions framed the Democrats as corrupt and are thought to have been instrumental in getting the living embodiment of corruption elected president. For many people, that made it seem like WikiLeaks deliberately interfered in a presidential election for partisan reasons. Allegedly. Sometimes I forget to say allegedly. You know, while I'm thinking about it, and because I'm about to say some bad things about Assange, maybe I'll just say allegedly a few more times and you can remember it and imagine me saying it at appropriate timestamps that I will not be providing. So, allegedly, like, I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton or the Democratic Party, but come on, man, you had to have some internal communications from the Republicans, too. I mean, come on now. They are not exactly running on stealth mode.
Are you ever going to talk about Sweden or...
Oh, God, I don't want to.
Its importance is not tangential.
I know, it makes people mad.
You are unafraid of being placed on a government watch list, yet the extremely unlikely possibility of being dragged on Twitter frightens you enough that you would leave out relevant information.
I mean, when you put it like that, yeah, maybe a bit.
That is disappointing. You have been talking about people you consider courageous. Where is your courage for this little thing?
You know what? Fuck it. You're right. Let's go back to 2010. In November that year, Swedish police issued an arrest warrant for Assange. Not for espionage, but for something I would argue is a lot worse. 2 women had accused him of sexual assault. It might have been 3, I'm not sure. And in response, he said that Sweden's judicial system was under the influence of, quote, crazed radical feminist ideology. End quote. Just so everybody knows what he thought about that. While extradition proceedings were in the works, Assange was released on bail and applied for political asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. The Swedish investigation was discontinued several years later. The prosecutor said that the evidence was not strong enough. That gets said a lot in these kinds of cases, just saying. But the discontinuation is held up by some as evidence that the whole thing was a trap to get Assange deported to the United States. I would argue that if that were the case, it probably would have worked. After 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, Assange is currently a resident of Belmarsh prison. He faces deportation to the United States, and that whole process has been really slow. The US government has assured the British court that they'll be real nice to Assange and not do what their richly deserved reputation suggests, which is torture. Torture is the thing that America does but says it won't do this time. Like, I obviously can't comment on Assange's motivations. Is he a crusader for the little guy? Is he a Russian asset? Is he a dangerously puckish rogue who sows chaos for his own amusement? I don't fucking know. Is he a slippery, devious dude who says and occasionally does dumb, harmful shit? Yeah, I don't trust him, and I don't blame anybody else who doesn't either. But the charges against him in America, I trust that even less.
Not bad. You covered your own ass a bit, but not bad.
Thanks, I guess.
Sometimes you need a push. I am happy to help.
Great. Anyway, hey, it's that time again. If you liked this video, please feel free to let that fact manifest in a tapping of the like button. Likewise, if you don't like it, there's a button for that too. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. If you have a comment or a correction, there's a place for that too. YouTube is just so cutting edge. You can also follow me on Twitter and the other things, or join my generous benefactors on Patreon. All the links are in the description. You can see videos a day or two early, get your name emblazoned here for everyone to see, like these amazing humans, and feel the sense of accomplishment that comes with helping a minor superhero pay their phone bill. Join us again next time for the next crime. Till then, this is the Silver Samaritan saying good luck and stay safe.